We've discussed the role of fate and the limited Greek conception of human agency. We've seen in our earlier readings different reactions to living in a world dominated by fate and the will of the gods. Gilgamesh despairs of the fact that humans are mortal, and this haunts him. By contrast, Siduri advises him that since there's nothing to be done about it, he should just accept this fact and try to enjoy the good things that life offers. In Oedipus the King, Jocasta represents a similar view. When she learns of Oedipus's investigation and is told about the prophecy of Tiresias, she's skeptical and dismissive, saying, quote, "Do not concern yourself about this matter. Listen to me and learn that human beings have no part in the craft of prophecy," end quote. In order to prove her point, she tells the story of the prophecy that her child with Laius would come to murder his father. But the child is now dead and nothing has ever come of it. She concludes, "So clear in this case were the oracles, so clear and false. Give them no heed, I say. What God discovers need of, easily he shows to us himself," end quote. There's, of course, great irony in her words, since the very example that she gives in order to illustrate that prophecies are unreliable and should not be heeded, in fact exactly demonstrates the opposite, namely that they can be true and should be closely attended to. It will be noted that Jocasta claims that if the gods have something important to say, they'll do so directly. This is an echo of the passage we saw in the Odyssey, where it was written of Oedipus, quote, "He killed his father and married her, but the gods soon made it known to mortals," end quote. A similar passage occurs later when the messenger comes from Corinth to tell of the death of Oedipus's adopted father, King Polybus. When Oedipus learns of this, he is greatly relieved and celebrates, since he believes this to mean that the prophecy was not true. His father is now dead, and he had nothing to do with it. But he makes a false inference, since he doesn't know that Polybus is not his real father. Like Jocasta, he dismissively and somewhat arrogantly concludes that there's no need to heed the prophecies. Quote, "Ha ha, oh dear Jocasta, why should one look at the Pythian hearth? Why should one look to the birds screaming overhead? They prophesied that I should kill my father, but he's dead, and I stand here who never laid a hand on spear against him." To the Greek mind, this dismissal of the oracle at Delphi verges on sacrilege. Oedipus is in effect denying the truth of a central institution in the Greek religion. Moreover, he's denying the truth of the words of the god Apollo. Jocasta then gives her own philosophy of life, which urges Oedipus to take it easy and not worry about things. She says, quote, "Why should man fear, since chance is all in all for him, and he can clearly foreknow nothing? Best to live lightly as one can, unthinkingly." According to this view, reflection is itself a vice. It can lead one to destroy the happiness in one's own life, just as Gilgamesh did with his obsession with death. The word that Jocasta uses for chance is tuke. This might also be translated as luck or good or bad fortune. In the Greek world, this was personified as a goddess of the same name who corresponds to the Roman Fortuna. Even though this concept is personified, there's still no making sense of it. People have good and bad fortune, and that is just the way it is. The Greek historian Polybius appeals to the goddess when no other explanation for the events can be given. Jocasta's point is that since humans can't know if they will have good or bad luck, they might just as well enjoy life and not worry about it. Thinking too much about such things only makes life more difficult. The events of Sophocles' play clearly demonstrate that both attitudes of Jocasta and Oedipus are badly misguided on this point. They are dismissive of prophecy and the messages of the gods, and as a result, they come to pay for it. Jocasta's recommendation to live lightly seems light-minded given the gravity of the situation. Sophocles clearly wants to criticize views of this kind, which he seems to regard as impious. The proper disposition is one of attentive concern to the messages of the gods in whatever form they might appear. The old religion should not be abandoned. In our modern world, these viewpoints are also represented, even though we no longer believe in oracles or the goddess Tuke. There are those who say that we should not worry about the broader philosophical issues of life, since this can have negative and even destructive consequences. According to this view, it's a bad thing to be overly reflective. one should just try to enjoy one's life and try to take things as they come. There is another view, however, that says that reflectivity is an important part of what it is to be human. We don't want to live meaningless lives, like a cow in a field. Instead, it's important for us to be aware of ourselves and our role in the world, and indeed in the universe. From a metaphysical perspective, Jocasta takes the world to be full of random events with no discernible rationality behind them. This is the principle of Tuke. But what she fails to see is that there is a deeper underlying fate that governs everything that happens. While things might look random, in fact they're not. This is only an indication of the fact that one has not seen fate that connects the individual events. Once again, today we still see analogs to these positions in our modern secular world. There are those who claim that as physical creatures in the physical world of cause and effect, we human beings have no real free will. According to this materialist view, human freedom is just an illusion. We have the impression that we're acting freely in our day-to-day lives, but in fact we're determined to act in specific ways by our environment, our physiology, our brains, etc. This shows that although the Greeks had different ways of talking about these issues, they had identified fundamental questions regarding the human condition, which we still struggle with today.